Một trong rất nhiều buổi tiếp xúc với cộng đồng người Việt ở quận Cam trong chuyến đi vừa qua của đại sứ Ted Osious là buổi gặp gỡ do Thượng nghị sĩ tiểu bang California Janet Nguyễn tổ chức. Tới dự có nhiều dân cử Mỹ Việt tại địa phương và liên bang, các doanh nhân, các nhà hoạt động cộng đồng và một số cơ quan truyền thông. Trong vai trò chủ nhà, Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn đã nói tới những quan tâm của bà về việc đấu tranh cho dân chủ và nhân quyền ở Việt Nam. Bà Janet Nguyễn đã giới thiệu đại sứ Ted Osious như một chiến sĩ trên mặt trận đó. Trước khi đi vào phần phát biểu của mình, đại sứ Ted Osious đã giải thích rõ ràng về lý do ông phải tránh không để có những hình ảnh của ông chụp chung với lá cờ vàng 3 sọc đỏ, theo quy chế của Bộ Ngoại giao Hoa Kỳ. Kể cả phần phát biểu và phần trả lời các câu hỏi của những người tham dự, đại sứ Ted Osious tiếp tục thông điệp lạc quan của ông về tình hình Việt Nam trong 20 năm qua, từ khi hai nước bình thường hóa quan hệ, cũng như chủ trương đẩy mạnh quan hệ toàn diện với Việt Nam trong thời gian tới. Tiếp tục dùng những lợi thế của Hoa Kỳ trong mối quan hệ song phương để đưa tới một tương lai tốt đẹp hơn cho Việt Nam, trong đó có cả những lĩnh vực tự do, dân chủ, nhân quyền và đời sống của giới lao động tại Việt Nam. Đại sứ Ted Osious cho biết từ những cuộc tiếp xúc trong mấy ngày qua, ông đã thấy rất rõ quan tâm của nhiều người Việt tại đây về vấn đề các quyền của con người, vấn đề tự do và công bằng tại Việt Nam. Ông cũng cho biết hai ưu tiên lớn nhất trong nhiệm kỳ của ông tại Việt Nam là đẩy mạnh quan hệ thương mại giữa hai nước, trong đó Hiệp định Thương mại Xuyên Thái Bình Dương TPP sẽ là công cụ mạnh mẽ nhất, và ưu tiên thứ hai là vấn đề hỗ trợ giáo dục cho Việt Nam.
I saw the ambassador's schedule. I'll tell you, he flew in yesterday, and from yesterday he had a dinner. Today he had town halls, meetings, community meetings. He has dinner after this. Tomorrow he's got meetings, luncheon, and etc. Then he flies to Sacramento, a San Jose area, and he also has dinners and town halls and meetings. And then he goes back to Vietnam by the middle of the week, of next week. So it is a privilege and honor. As you know, I have been a staunch fighter and someone's very advocate when it comes to human rights and religious freedom in Vietnam for over a decade. We will always make sure that everybody is protected because human rights is our basic rights as a human being. It doesn't matter what country we are in. We just happen to be very lucky to be in a country that is free and that we can say or do what we want to do. But there are other countries that aren't that lucky. And our ambassador will be that champion. And he has always been a very prominent individual. And I'll tell you, I sent him a letter regarding Mr. Trinh Chi Nguyen and the police abuse that occurred a month ago. And immediately he met with Mr. Nguyen and made sure that that police brutality doesn't continue in the country. And that is a quick response. I'll tell you, not often do you get that kind of response, especially transmitted all the way to Vietnam from the United States. And so, you know, you can see that the ambassador is here to listen. He wants to hear from the community. I know that he's heard a lot because I was there today about, we talked about, you know, human rights and religious freedom. Ambassador, one of the things that I've been working with Congressman Royce is looking at the disabled veterans for the former South Vietnam who were not able to come to the United States because they did not meet the 3 years being in prison in re-education camp. And so we have been working to see if there's an opportunity for the State Department to reconsider and amend that HO, the Humanitarian Operation Program, to allow the disabled Vietnam veterans from Vietnam to be able to come to the United States with their family. The California State Senate and the California State Assembly has passed the resolution, and the State Assembly actually passed it about a week ago. And I will be traveling to Washington, D.C. But this is kind of the program that would be helpful and it would help the community as well. But these are some of the issues that we would like to talk to the ambassador today. You know, human rights, religious freedoms, how we go forward to making sure that everybody in Vietnam are protected. And those of us here who go back to Vietnam, if we choose to. I've never been back there. I don't think they would ever give me a visa. But, you know, if they do, I will go back. But there are so many other opportunities that I think that our community as a whole would like to see progress in Vietnam. And so on behalf of the community in the 34th Senate District, I thank you again for being here. Ambassador, you are my first dignitary to my house. We just moved here a couple months ago. So I do apologize. There isn't much in the house. But, it is actually an honor for me to host the reception for the ambassador to Vietnam. Ambassador Ted Osious, please. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you very much. Xin chào quý vị và các bạn. Cảm ơn rất là nhiều Janet và Tom đã đón tiếp chúng tôi chiều nay. Cảm ơn rất là nhiều. Và tôi rất là vui gặp lại ông Chủ tịch Ed Royce. Tôi rất là tôn trọng ông Chủ tịch Ed Royce lâu lắm, tại vì trước ông ấy cũng đã tập trung vào quan hệ với Ấn Độ, với Việt Nam, với rất nhiều nước, và lúc khi không có một quan hệ dễ để giải quyết. Và and I'm just saying, Mr. Chairman, that you've been a champion, not of easy issues, but of very hard ones. And you have my great respect for all that you have done and continue to do on behalf of the United States of America. So it's really an honor for me to be here and to be welcomed by you, Janet, and by Tom. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say a word about the flag. And I want you to understand, since I know it's difficult for some people to understand this, but let me be clear. I have great respect for that symbol, great respect. But I am in a job where I can make a real difference. And if I am photographed with that flag, I will lose that job, and I will not be able to work on your behalf. It's as simple as that. And I want to be able to continue to work to improve the relationship with Vietnam, continue to work to fight for human rights, to fight for the rights of workers in Vietnam. And it's very simple. If I'm photographed with that flag, I lose my job, you lose a champion. So it's not out of any lack of respect that I ask not to be photographed with that flag. It's simply because I want to keep doing my work. I believe in what we're doing. I believe that in 20 years of normalized relations with Vietnam, we've been able to make a difference. I believe that in the future we'll be able to continue to make a difference in the areas of human rights, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of association for workers, rights of workers to be able to collective bargaining. These are areas where there's an opportunity before us that I don't think has existed before. I am trying to build on the work of the people who came before me in this relationship. One of my heroes in this life is Pete Peterson, who's my dear friend who was back in Vietnam just recently. He was the first ambassador to Vietnam. He had suffered terribly. He'd spent 7 years in Hoa Lo prison. He'd suffered terribly, but he came back to Vietnam as ambassador. He believed that he could make a difference, and he did. And he had a great spirit of forgiveness that enabled him to come, and rather than focus on the suffering of his personal past, he focused on the opportunities of the future. And it's certainly what I try to do in trying to deepen this relationship. We have to be honest about the past. It's very important to be absolutely unflinchingly honest about what happened in the past. But I think the young people of Vietnam, and the young people of America for that matter, that we owe them to focus on what the opportunities are for the future. And that's my commitment. I believe we have an historic opportunity to build a different kind of a relationship with Vietnam, to help that country as it sorts out what kind of a future that it wants to have. As the people of Vietnam sort out what kind of future they want to have, I think we have an opportunity to influence that future. And as long as I'm ambassador, I won't rest. I'll try to exploit every opportunity to see how we can move things forward. I want to stop speaking there because I'd love to hear, walk around and to hear from people what your concerns are. It's been very enlightening to me to be here for the last couple of days because I'd heard a lot of views, but I hadn't felt them as I do now. I hadn't felt the concerns the way I do now. The concerns that people have for human rights, for religious freedom, for fairness, for fair treatment of people who suffer in the past. And I've been feeling those sentiments, been sharing those sentiments with people yesterday and today. This has been a very, very strong learning experience for me, and I go back empowered, convinced that we can do much more to change the situation for the better in Vietnam, and I'll give it all that I have. Thank you very much.
The situation of the human rights in Vietnam is very gloomy. The Vietnamese government tried their best to suppress the human rights, democracy, and freedom. And the Vietnamese government is planning to destroy the Liên Trì temple into Team Cycle. Therefore, on behalf of the Unified Buddhist Sangha overseas, I respectfully urge you to request the Vietnamese government to respect human rights, democracy, and freedom for all Vietnamese people, especially stop right away and unconditionally to destroy the Liên Trì temple. So would you please help us about that?
My question is, right now hundreds of dissidents and patriots are being imprisoned in Vietnam illegally. And could you share with us some information that you think available about any plan in the future that U.S. government can do anything to put more pressures on the Vietnamese Communist government to release all of the dissidents and being held in prison illegal like that? Thank you.
My name is Finn. I'm a representative of the Production Youth Group. My father, Pham Joe, representative of Việt Nam Working Dan, one of the Nationalist Party. We don't have a question, but we'd like to give you a letter of our recommendations, which lists a few solutions that our organization feels that perhaps you can help in Vietnam.
Thank you very much.
Xin chào ông. Chúng tôi hoạt động ở trên Facebook thì cũng biết được rất là nhiều điều hiện nay trong tình trạng ở trong nước. Những bạn bè của chúng tôi là những blogger cũng như những Facebooker thì tất cả các bạn đều có những cái thắc mắc là cái điều 258, 79 và 88 là cái article của nhà cầm quyền Cộng sản Việt Nam áp dụng đối với những người đấu tranh cho đòi hỏi cho tự do, dân chủ và nhân quyền. Nhưng chính những cái điều đó là những cái điều vi phạm nhân quyền một cách trầm trọng. Thì qua những cái việc mà ông ban giao giữa Việt Mỹ và cái tình trạng kháng khích hơn qua cái việc TPP vừa rồi thì liệu phía Hoa Kỳ có thể giúp cho những người dân Việt Nam để mà xóa bỏ được những cái điều luật đó, cũng như quốc tế đã từng lên tiếng xóa bỏ 3 cái điều luật mà hiện nay là những cái điều luật mà gây vi phạm nhân quyền nhiều nhất cho những người đấu tranh cho tự do, dân chủ và nhân quyền. Cảm ơn.
Earlier in your speech, you mentioned about forgiveness, and then and it seems as if you also want us to forgive and forget the past in order to move further in the future. My question to you, as an ambassador in Vietnam, do you think the Vietnamese government have any move, anything to show their forgiveness at all? That's my question. Thank you.
I heard from you since yesterday, and I have a little bit. One thing that bothers me. You often said that the United States government, through you, try to work with the communist government to improve the laws. And I don't know if we get our value to judge their system or not, because our value is the rule of law. Everybody has to be under the law, even the President of the United States. You try to make them improve the law. But if they don't do it, and they do the way they want, if the law is the tool, what the next step the United States need to do? Thank you.
I know you got a difficult task to handle after the joint communique, but I'm looking forward that after this meeting here, and thanks to the Senator Janet Nguyễn, whom I always behind her, to work together for the benefit of here and Vietnam as well. So thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
We are from Little Saigon Television, and my question is, what is your opinions about the Vietnam situation today? And what is the most important project is the U.S. Embassy focusing on now in Vietnam? Thank you.
Thank you very much for each of these questions. I'm going to try to answer each of the 7 questions that I received. I'll do my best. First, on the Unified Buddhist Temple. Thank you very, very much. I had a chance to visit the Unified Buddhist Temple today. In my view, the United States was founded on the principle of religious freedom. And the issue of religious freedom is terribly important. And so we make great efforts in Vietnam to continue to promote the idea of religious freedom. I will not give up hope that we can make progress on this issue. I know that the chairman had the opportunity to meet with Venerable Thích Quang Do. Alan Lowenthal had the opportunity to meet with Venerable Thích Quang Do. My respect is great for what you do, and my interest in your being able to continue to do it is very, very high. This is who we are as a nation, and so I will do all I can to be helpful.
Would you please
Yes.
Venerable Thích Quang Do?
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. The second question involved prisoners of conscience. Now, there are members of the Vietnamese government who will claim that there are no prisoners of conscience. That's not true. There are prisoners of conscience. The only good news I can find is that the numbers are going down. Now, they're not going down because there's a fast release. They're going down because people actually serve out their terms and then are finally released. That's why the numbers are going down of prisoners of conscience. The other piece of good news that I can find, because I am an optimist, is that since I came to Vietnam, there has been only one arrest under those onerous decrees that were described just a few minutes ago. There's only been one additional request, and I believe that's because the government of Vietnam is looking to the United States for Trans-Pacific Partnership, for growing trade, for security in the Bien Đông, and so I think that we'll have a chance to make progress in release of prisoners and to make it so that people don't get out and then new people are put in prison right behind them, but to seek systemic change. The decrees that were mentioned, when we talk about changing the laws, what we are talking about is making it so that Vietnam respects its international commitments under the conventions that it has signed up to and under the terms of the 2013 Constitution, imperfect though that may be. There's a real desire in the National Assembly to make some of these changes real. I had an extraordinary experience. Madam Nguyen Thi Kim Ngan visited the United States. She's a member of the Politburo. She's number 2 in the National Assembly, and she went to Boston on a leadership program at Harvard, and she came back and she invited me to have dinner to talk about her experience in Boston. And she said to me, "Did you know that when there's a trial in the United States that a jury makes the decision about what happens?" I said, "Yes, actually, I do know that. It's a very good practice." She said, "Did you know that they have set up a system that it makes it very, very hard to bribe judicial officials? Because you can't get a judgment from the judge. You have to you have to convince a jury of your peers that you're innocent, or that jury has to be convinced of guilt. She was fascinated by our judicial system. She was inspired by our judicial system. She is likely to be in one of the top 4 positions in Vietnam after the next party Congress. She is the most popular member of the Politburo because she's smart, because she's not corrupt, and because people believe that she is trying to push Vietnam in a direction of reform. So that's one of the reasons I feel some hope. A very powerful question was asked about forgiveness. When I described the experience of Pete Peterson, I was describing his personal forgiveness. Do I think that means that the Vietnamese government has gotten over the past? Not necessarily. It really depends on each individual. There are individuals within the Vietnamese government who feel one way or another. What I can tell you is that when we think of Vietnamese young people, and we think of hope for the future for Vietnamese young people, I think it's very helpful to give them some space to grow, not to only focus on the past. Yes, to be honest on the past, honest about the past, direct about the past, but to give them some hope for the future. And I think that we have an obligation to young people as well. And I'd urge that you keep that in mind. I think I have one more question. With respect to Vietnamese American community and the successes that you've had, it's really extraordinary. You talked about the cream of the crop. It's very extraordinary to look at the energy that this community has brought to this country. Almost unimaginable in such a short time. And there are many, many people in Vietnam who want a closer relationship with this community and believe it's possible to have a closer relationship. I believe it's possible, and I believe that Vietnam will be better off if there are more tourists, more investors, more people, more students who go back and forth between our two countries. And I think the community of Nghị, Gok Viet has great contributions to make in this regard. And then the last question, and then I'm told that I have to go. The last question is, what's most important project today? And I would answer there are 2. One is to deepen our trade relationship, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership is the most powerful tool we have to deepen that trade relationship. And the second one is education, and investing in education and investing in the future of Vietnam. And I think that's a tremendously powerful thing to do if we want to think about the kind of relationship that we can have going forward, and if we want to think about the future of young Vietnamese, and that's to invest in a high-quality American-style education for Vietnamese. And we have an opportunity to do that, and I'll do all I can to contribute to that cause. Thank you, Janet. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Kính thưa quý vị khán thính giả của chương trình PhoBolsaTV, bây giờ là 6 giờ chiều ngày 12 tháng 7 năm 2015. Sáng nay, ông đại sứ Hoa Kỳ tại Việt Nam, ông Ted Osious đã có buổi gặp gỡ với nhiều người trong cộng đồng người Việt ở quận Cam, trả lời rất nhiều câu hỏi và cũng đã có gặp với báo chí sau đó. Hiện nay, ông có mặt ở một buổi gặp mặt nhỏ hơn do Thượng nghị sĩ tiểu bang Janet Nguyễn tổ chức. Ông cũng lại tiếp tục trả lời câu hỏi của những người có quan tâm tới những cái vấn đề của Việt Nam. Sau buổi trả lời rất ngắn gọn của ông với khoảng 6-7 câu hỏi, thì bây giờ mọi người dùng cơ hội này để có thể chụp hình lưu niệm chung với ông trước khi ông phải rời đi cho những chương trình tiếp tới trong những ngày tới. Thượng nghị sĩ có thể cho biết là lý do mà thượng nghị sĩ muốn tổ chức một cái buổi gặp gỡ của ông Ted Osious với cộng đồng người Việt Nam ở đây?
Rất là quan trọng là tại ổng là một người là rất là người đại diện cho chúng ta ở nước Mỹ, ở Việt Nam, và cái việc gì mà mình cần, như mình muốn giúp cho đồng bào Việt Nam về nhân quyền và tự do, dân chủ, mình phải có một người bạn. Và ổng bữa nay ổng đã tham gia được ở trong khu vực nước Sài Gòn của mình và trong Đại học 34, và rất là hân hạnh cho Janet được tiếp ông ở nhà của chúng tôi và làm một cái small reception để cho mình có một cái intimate way để hỏi ổng questions, và nó nhỏ, và but even though nó không phải chỉ nhỏ, but quý vị cũng biết là nhiều người bữa nay đi tùm lum hết á, và mình muốn cho ổng có một cái opportunity. If ông không có thấy được mấy cái người nào ở đâu á, mình phải capture everybody trong cộng đồng của chúng ta để cho ông biết được cái concern và cái quyết tâm của chúng ta ở trong cộng đồng của khu vực lớn Sài Gòn của mình ở đây.
Cái thiện chí của ông đại sứ của Mỹ tại Việt Nam thì đối với cộng đồng Việt Nam ở đây thì có, nhưng mà ông cũng chỉ trả lời trong giới hạn mà Bộ Ngoại giao Mỹ cho phép và những chính sách của chính phủ Hoa Kỳ đã đặt trước đối với sự quan hệ giữa Hoa Kỳ và Việt Nam. Cho nên ông đến với tư cách là thăm hỏi cộng đồng người Việt, chứ những cái quyết định của ông không phải là quyết định của riêng ông được. Cho nên những cái thắc mắc của đồng hương ở đây và những hội đoàn đấu tranh ở đây thì ông cũng không thể làm gì được, vì chính phủ Hoa Kỳ đã có cái chính sách và ông chỉ là người thực thi cái chính sách đó tại Việt Nam.